I regret I'm not able to make you work on Sundays.
This is end. हमें 12 months incentive नहीं मिला है sir.
If I can make you work on Sundays, I'll be more happier. Because I work on Sundays also.
But I don't agree with this work-life balance concept.
First of all, I don't believe in work-life balance. We have to work very hard.
Picture this, it's Gurugram, 11 p.m. A high-class office building, one full floor with lights. A lot of people are sitting there, a lot of employees are working. All of them want to go home, but they can't. Many of them are young 25, 26-year-olds who want to lead a life alongside work, but they can't move. All because of one man, the manager who's still stationed there. Whether he does something or not doesn't matter. Till the time the manager leaves, you can't. This is the unsaid rule of Indian corporate, followed to the hilt even today. No matter how much public humiliation, verbal abuses you face from the manager, you can't move an inch without his approval. When the L&T chairman told employees to work 90 hours a week, including Sundays, the internet exploded. He actually asked, "What would you do staring at your wife?" This was a shocking statement for many, but the reality is thousands of employees any which ways do this without complaining, in complete silence. And when asked, they are in complete denial of any wrongdoing by the management. In fact, they often happen to be one of the better ambassadors of their company. And to scare this further, there is a new AI story which is adding fuel to fire. Every now and then, a manager just uses AI as an excuse to downsize his team, mostly to get rid of someone whom he feels insecure about, someone who he thinks is more capable, more competent, someone who refused to share credit with him for his work. And in reality, the fact of the matter is that corporates in India are very slow to adapt to anything new. The IT firms have been extremely slow in R&D or any other tech innovations. Otherwise, why would they be facing falling order wins? And just to mind you, a surprise fact here. The clients who used to give orders to these IT majors in India are today setting up their own global capability centers. In fact, Indian subsidiaries of these foreign companies called the GCCs are one of the biggest hiring organizations today.
एक अपेक्षा अशी आहे की पुढच्या काळामध्ये आपल्या देशामध्ये जगातनं 5,000 जीसीसी येणार आहेत आणि हा सगळा जो जीसीसीचा रिव्होल्यूशन आहे हा महाराष्ट्रात कॅप्चर करण्याकरता ही पॉलिसी आपण तयार केली आहे. आपल्याला अपेक्षित आहे की या
On the other hand, you find falling order books of Indian IT companies and many others. So why is it so? What exactly is happening over here? AI is obviously being used as a tool, but otherwise, why is the toxicity being so rampant? And more importantly, why are the employees of organizations, we Indians particularly, are allowing this? Why are we not comfortable in tackling this when we are quite happy to get rid of toxic partners in today's day and age? Watch this video till the very end to understand the exact situation, the social, economic pressure, and the psychology behind the persistent toxicity and workplace harassment in India. It might come as a surprise to you, but harassment is not always open and dramatic. Most of the times it is subtle. For example, you are in a meeting and after a point of time, the leader or the boss says that only 2 people would stay, rest can leave. It's actually a kind of undermining of certain employees over the others. Just another case where in public, the HR wants to applaud. The manager receives the award and says thank you to his mother, his wife, his father, everyone else, not taking the name of any employee, not giving credit to any team member. Your name is being proposed for that promotion or that great project which you were waiting for. But suddenly the management just comes and asks that, I just have to tell them whether you are planning to have a baby next year or not, or are you expanding your family? These are subtle questions that raise alarm as to why workplace harassment has become so normal, so casual. Think about the situation where it's 10 p.m. Your mobile rings and your manager says that there's just an urgent fix needed. That fix seems to be small, but it takes 2 hours. And it's 12 o'clock and you request your manager for approval only to realize that he's gone to sleep. Such a small thing, such a big impact. In fact, with leaders vouching for 90-hour work weeks today, including weekends, it is very difficult for any person to stand out and speak for himself to set boundaries. It's only a matter of time where anyone and everyone would be at the receiving end of the situation. The problem is we tend to think that no, my case is different, it won't happen to me. The fact is that when you see your colleague suffering about something, it's also your duty to stand up for him, for her. The data on sexual harassment cases is another shocker. In the year FY 23-24, there were 2,300 cases or complaints of sexual harassment received by NSE listed companies. Mind you, this is just the tip of the iceberg. A lot of those go unreported. Of course, these complaints are made to the internal complaint committee, which is supposed to be set up under the POSH Act. The problem is that internal complaints committee is also comprising of members which are within the company. A lot of times they have to choose between a senior person and a junior colleague. The answer happens to be easier for them, or rather more convenient for them. The implementation of POSH guidelines is as bad as road construction actually in India. In fact, road construction seems to be better in some occasions. The unreported cases are extremely high in number. A lot of times, silence is survival, and hence witnesses generally don't speak up. Evidences are generally not available. And finally, these kind of cases die a silent death. The junior colleague has to eventually resign and find a job at another company, all for no fault of hers. When the Me Too movement hit in India, and in particular the corporate world, many companies were at the receiving end. Companies like Only Much Louder, AIB in the media, they all faced outrage. There were op-eds, there were talks, there was big blowout in the internet. But slowly and steadily as time passed out, it all went silent. So the pattern is quite common over here. So it's outrage, debate, death, reset, repeat. So in this kind of a scenario, there's an increasing reluctance amongst women to come out in the open against any wrongdoing against them. Are we creating a culture which is unsafe for women? Because the society already is. Here is the thing that most explainers about toxic world culture get it wrong. They treat it like a choice. It's like people need to stand up for themselves or set boundaries. And sure, it sounds great from the outside, but reality is darker than you think. I mean, just look at the math. For every 1,000 jobs available, there are probably 1 million applicants. And I'm not talking about government jobs alone here, including private sector jobs. The most ditched or the most condemned entry-level IT job, which is supposed to have a 3 lakhs to 3.5 lakhs salary, receives 5 to 6 times more applicants per job than what it used to a decade ago. And in today's date, their hiring is only decreasing with time. AI, of course. When job winning feels like a lottery, you don't complain about the price. And you do everything in your power to keep it with you. And not only you, even your family, your close friends, your social circle will encourage you to stay silent, because speaking up can disturb the equation big way for you. Maybe the person whom you speak against still goes scot-free. The boss isn't just your manager. In a lot of cases, they are treated like elders. And in India, we don't speak against elders, do we? But the question is that when you have no right to argue, when you have no means to push back, how on earth are you going to fight a toxic work culture? How is it that you expect to protect yourself? Hold that thought. In India, we jokingly say the boss is always right. The sad part is that this is very much becoming the reality, and the ability to question is going off the window. It some way stems from our culture also, because since childhood we have been told not to question the teacher, not to question your parents, not to question elders. So the ability to question itself has gone down the drain in a big way. If that is not enough, the stories of long working hours is celebrated in India. I worked 80 hours a week and look where I am. I did this, look where I am. I used to do a part-time job along with college, look where I am. So long hours of work, struggle, sacrifice is somehow getting romanticized. I don't know why on earth is that the case. Because almost like multiple decades ago, Europe gave this up completely. I am talking about regular working hours in most part of Europe. They work their time, they leave on time. In Europe, if somebody works longer hours, it's considered unusual. In fact, it's the HR's responsibility to take note of the fact that somebody is working longer and talk to his or her manager about this case. Is there a need for resource? If we are stretching our workforce for longer hours, either he or she is unproductive, or there is a shortage of resource, or there is some critical scenario which they have been stuck up with for which they are not able to find solutions. So maybe they need an external consultant. Despite all of this fact, long working hours is somehow seen as a sign of hard work in India. Look, I am all for hard work, and there are times when project deadlines get stretched and you have to stretch that extra bit. But making this as a culture is something I can't comprehend with, because it is simply not improving our productivity by any means. By no means there is any established evidence that companies which make employees work longer are more profitable or they have better market valuation. If any, they score poorly on the ESG front, which is environment, social and governance front. It's another rating mechanism which is used by investors internationally today to value a company. And while all of this is happening with the legacy companies, the startup culture exploded in India. In fact, with great amount of funding from India and abroad, the startups wanted to grow fast, hit the moon, take a moonshot. It became a common term over there that I work 20 hours every day, 7 days a week. Here is what you hear from a startup founder in ANI podcast.
I work 20 hours a day, 7 days a week. But I don't agree with this work-life balance concept.
With all of this happening, the value of time of people is totally over. It's believed that company owns a person's time right from the time he is being employed by them till the time he leaves the company. And because all these startups were celebrated as innovation engines of India, asking for work-life balance almost sounded unpatriotic. In fact, it's a matter of time before bosses start calling their employees anti-national. I mean, that's the only thing left on the table actually. If this is hitting close home, if what I'm talking resonates with you, please hit the subscribe button and share this video with whomsoever you can. It means a lot to me. For you it is free, but to me it encourages to bring more such content in raw, unfiltered, to the point format. Not the PR version of it, truth as it is. Thank you very much. The question often comes to me is, Varun, fine, these are bad, but things are changing. Don't you agree with it? I say yes, to some degree so. Gen Z workers are fighting hard for their work-life balance. There is a growth of talk on mental health and all these other matters. HR of various companies are organizing health programs, meditation, yoga sessions, and many other things which would help an employee feel valued. The problem is that HR can only do so much. These programs can only contribute to an extent. What moves the needle is some employee capturing a manager shouting at someone or being physical at someone. That is what really does damage to an organization and to the person. And this is happening a big way. We are seeing many such cases. Some of them are. With all these cases happening, there is an element of fear amongst management with respect to their actions. At least they are being cautioned not to get physically abusive and not even verbally abusive, not to leave any digital record against any of it. The problem, however, is that the culture from beneath has to undergo a change. That is not happening. The simple point is this, that why can't someone be assigned the work in the morning rather than in the evening when he's about to leave? That's a cultural phenomenon. Why is it that someone can't be told that, okay, this is the work you need to do. If you complete it, you leave. Nobody questions you. Why is it that someone is made to wait till the time a manager stays in the office? Why is this unsaid rule still existing? Mind you, legally all companies say that we have defined work hours, but nobody adheres to the fact that the unsaid rule overpowers everything else. It's a brute case of one powerful man or a set of powerful people controlling everyone else. If the power structure doesn't get balanced, this is likely to continue in future. As far as you are concerned, you have only one thing in your hand. Keep upskilling yourself, keep applying to jobs wherever you can, keep expanding your network. I strongly tell people, keep your social media as active as you can. That way you can build a brand. Your next job offer is unlikely to come from a job portal, but more on account of somebody observing you on social media. So this way, when you have more options in hand, your ability to negotiate this daily cultural problems is much improved. Even your manager would know the fact that you are likely to land a job offer soon in case you leave. He will be once bit twice shy before doing something. And over and above, I always advise financial discipline. See, if a person is fearful of losing a job because he has a loan in his head, he will always succumb to manager's pressure. If a person is without loan or any such liability and he has got substantial savings, at least 6 months of expenses, that's what financial planners advise, then there's nothing much one can do. The people who are most vulnerable are those who are heavily in debt and extremely introvert, those who don't focus on networking, those who don't present themselves in social media. In today's day and age, a great man has said, work 3 times more on yourself than what you do for your company. If this idea resonates with you well, I would reiterate, please like, share and subscribe this video. Thank you very much for your attention.